Welcome to What's the F?
What the F?
Hello, everyone. Hello, welcome. Hopefully you didn't run away because I was a minute late. But yeah, it's very good. Hi, Yada. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Good.
Good.
So, hi, Millie. Hello, Yada. Today we have a very special guest. I'm super tickled pink because, it's gone from just a little thing in sub 2 and it's actually growing. And now we have what I call my first authority. Forget about celebrity. I'm talking authority. So I would like to introduce all of you to Rondi Lambeth. Say hi to Rondi. All right. So, yep, we're getting hellos. Happy Monday to you all.
Awesome.
Thank you. So, hi, Gabriela. Hi, Melissa. Hello, all. I don't know whether, and hello, Lance, and the other Melissa and Lizianne, you say hello to everybody. You know I'm saying hi, okay? But now I got to pay attention to Rondi. So, Rondi is a very special person, and yet I'm not sure how many of you guys have seen him before. Okay, so Salty 187 says Rondi is the GOAT. Yeah,
I'm loving these comments, by the way. These are amazing.
I do have a pretty active audience.
Love it.
So hi, Julie. Hi, Pansy. How many of you guys already know Rondi? If you already know Rondi, write down me. I know Rondi. And if this is the first time that you're meeting him, hi, Stephen. Just respond. Oh, Gabriela knows you. Okay. And if this is new for you, I haven't yet. Nice to meet you, Rondi, says Iara. Okay. Well, in that case, I would like to play a little intro to that will tell you a little bit about Rondi before we actually jump in. Melissa says, it's my first. Okay, so we're going to see a little intro on Rondi.
I probably need to hit the play button.
I think you do.
Okay. Back up just a little bit. Hopefully it works.
Our next speaker was not born into wealth or even the middle class. For most of his childhood, he and his 6 siblings lived in a shack with no running water and no electricity. Outside the home, he and his younger brothers and sisters resorted to dumpsters for food and clothing. Inside the home, daily life meant coping with a violent father addicted to drugs and alcohol. At the age of 15, he left home taking nothing except a promise he made to himself to succeed in life so that those he cared about would never experience the poverty that very few could imagine. Not long after, he enlisted in the National Guard, where he served his country for 15 years as a crew chief on a medevac helicopter. Then, at the age of 21, fueled by a desire to help and protect people, he became a firefighter in Colorado, a career that would last until his retirement in 2005. Still driven by a desire to protect, the promise he made to himself as a child to succeed financially would become a promise he would make to the world. That promise inspired the creation of Fortress, a company founded with the purpose to educate and empower the public on money and credit. Over the last 11 years, he has fulfilled the promise he made by helping tens of thousands of people improve their credit and finances through education and inspiration. And that ever-growing list includes some of the world's most recognizable people.
Fortress is one of the fastest growing and most successful credit repair and coaching companies in the country, for good reason.
He has spoken on stages around the world in front of thousands of people, including Harvard University. He's also appeared on nearly every television network. He's been heard on over 2,000 radio broadcasts nationwide and is currently the host of the School of Wealth. He's also been featured in the Wall Street Journal and Inc. magazine. He is the CEO and founder of Fortress, America's most successful paid-on-results credit repair and coaching company. Please welcome to the stage, Rondi Lambeth.
So, yes, you're correct there, Melissa and Gabriela. Yep. This is why I'm saying that he is the largest authority I have had to date. And I feel very, very honored. And Gabriela says it's an amazing transformation. It is. It is. And as you guys know, I had a similar type of father. Not too good. Not all of us can have great dads, and I'm happy for those that do. But I'm really, really interested in bringing this gentleman on, what the Effie, to talk to us about himself and his journey and credit. I'm always interested in the person themselves. You guys know that. So I'm going to start, Rondi, by asking, if I may, you had a tough beginning. There's no doubt about it. And
Yeah, you can say that.
Yeah. And then you went to firefighting, which is also difficult on the body.
Yeah, how it started was I was born to a teenage mom that was almost forced into abortion by my father's mother and her mother. So both of my grandmothers tried forcing my mom to abort me. And this was in 1971. And then they didn't work, fortunately for me. And then she had me, and I don't know how they did it, but 10 months later, my mom had another kid. It's my brother, Jeremy. Him and I right now are the same age. We are both 51 years old. So I think they call that Irish twins. So, and by the time I turned 6, my mom had 2 more boys. So it started out with my father. I had four of us total. And he went on to have lots more kids. I'm the oldest of 13 kids that I know of. There's some out there that I just don't know. There's some that I know are my siblings. I don't call them my siblings, but I do know that they're my half brothers and half sisters. But with that being said, I started out teenage mom. Life was tough. My dad was an alcoholic and a drug addict. And most of my life was in and out of foster care, women's shelters, etc. And then when I turned 6, somewhere around kindergarten, my mom and my dad, my biological father, got divorced, and then we just moved a lot. And even though they were divorced, she still had more kids from him. Crazy, right? And there was one time we were walking down the road. We were hitchhiking. It was the first of the month. We just got our food stamps when it used to be funny money, and you could only buy government cheese and government garbage. And we were walking home, hitchhiking because we didn't have a car. And this guy pulled up in his vehicle and asked if we wanted to ride. And of course I did. And that was the picture of the guy that you saw in the video. And his name was Paul. He was 56, 57 years old. My mom's like 30, 28, 30, somewhere in there. Next thing you know, we're moving out of our house that had electricity to move in with Paul.
Whoa.
And when he picked us up, it was actually a horse and wagon.
Oh my gosh. So you kind of went from the frying pan into the fire.
Yeah, you could say that. And the reason we moved into a shack, it was literally a shack. It's still there. It's about an hour away from where I live now. The house was smaller than my studio is here. And I don't have a large studio, but very small house for 11 of us to live in. No running water, no electricity. We burned tires, Effie. Tires for fuel.
That's really toxic.
And as you can imagine, what happens when you burn tires, it just coats the entire area with this black soot. And so I was in blackface most of my childhood.
Wow.
Not just from the soot. I mean, we were dirty. And he beat us all the time and tortured us and make us eat our animals and just stuff that.
What?
I
had that experience too. Rabbits, my pet rabbits that my parents fed me, and my chicken. Anyways, let's not talk about it. It's traumatic when you find out you're eating your pet.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Well,
go far.
we knew that we were eating him because he'd make us kill him, kind of thing. It was either you kill them or I'm going to kill you, kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
So at 15 years old, I left home. I decided, you know what? I can eat out of a dumpster on my own. I'll just keep going to school. I'll take a shower at school like I already did. It's like I can provide for myself. So at 15 years old, I left home, and eventually, after couch surfing for a little while, I eventually ended up in John Day, Oregon, where I was born. And I got a job, and I went to work for this guy. He knew I was poor, if you will. And he was one of the richest men in town. And he gave me a job washing his mom's, his wife, and his car and his employee's car, making sure there was always gas in the car, etc. So he gave me this job washing cars. And one day I came to the office after high school, because I'm still going to high school. You know, I believed in education, even though I was taught education was a waste of time. Money's the root of all evil, and rich people are bad and they just take advantage of you. I really wanted to learn about money. And this Wally actually started teaching me about money and credit and taxes. And that's his name, is Wally Williams. So one day after coming there or going to work after football practice, he informed me that his main employee quit. And he asked me if I wanted his job. And before he could even finish the words, I'm like, yes. Like, well, let me finish what the job is. I said, I don't care what the job is. Does it mean I get more money? He's like, yes, you get more money. Because at the time I was just washing his car, mowing the lawn, cleaning up dog poop, like whatever you can give me. And he's like, are you sure? I'm like, I'm 100% sure. He goes, what you see here at this job, you can't tell anybody. Like, you can't tell your friends. You can't tell anyone. You can never talk about it ever again. I'm like, I don't care what it is. I'm good at keeping my mouth shut.
Did it make you curious?
I didn't care.
Yeah.
I was like, whatever it is. And he was going to pay me $1,000.
Wow.
This is when minimum wage was $2.35 an hour. I'm like, $1,000? Absolutely, I'm in. So we're walking down this long hallway, and you want to know how I got to become a fireman. This was part of it. I'm walking down this long hallway, and he stops before he opens the door, and he turns around and he looks down at me. I was a little tiny kid. I was the smallest kid in my high school.
Wow.
Now, as you saw from some of the videos, I'm not a small kid. I'm 6'3", 235 pounds. I'm a big man now, but then I was little. And he says, are you sure? I'm like, yeah. He goes, once you go through these doors, you can't turn around. I'm like, dude, just give me the damn job. I'm ready. So we open the door, and I walk in, Effie. There's a man naked, laying on a table with a gunshot wound to his face.
What?
We need to take care of him.
What? Was he alive?
No, he was dead.
Oh my God.
So that was the day I became a funeral director.
Wow.
I went to work for Wally Williams, who was the owner of Driscoll's Mortuary. And from that point forward, all through high school, I embalmed.
Oh my gosh. Okay, at least it's not as bad as I imagined, because if he's in a mortuary, you know, what comes in, comes in. For a second, I thought that he had shot him and you were going to go into a life of crime.
Yeah.
Wow. Working for a mortuary is kind of scary. Yeah. What? Says Bertie. Amazing. Did it freak you out?
It didn't freak me out. The first time I ever shot, so 2 years ago, I went through PTSD therapy, and should have done that like 40 years ago. But 2 years ago, I actually went through PTSD therapy with you ever read the book Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins?
No, I haven't read that one.
It's my friend Tucker Max. He's written 14 best-selling books, New York Times best-selling books, and there's even a movie about him called I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell. And Tucker's wife does for the military. She's a doctor. She helps military members, and as you know, I went through the military.
Right.
Spent 15 years in the military, 18 years in the firemen, the busiest rescue in Denver. So I saw stuff every day. So the PTSD, the first PTSD I got was, I was 11 months old, but I won't go into that one. But when I was 7 years old, I saw my neighbor shoot his wife and her boyfriend in front of us, right in the front yard. So death was kind of something I grew up with. So it really wasn't that shocking when I saw the guy laying there. It was like, oh, okay, another body. Now what? Shouldn't be that response, by the way, but that's what my response was.
Yeah, I understand. I think what you're subjected to kind of hardens you and such. And long-term PTSD is not a joke. I'm glad that at least that you got some treatment for it, even if it was later. Wow. So how did that lead you into firefighting? I mean, I can see it how it would lead you out of mortuaries, services, but how would it lead you into firefighter and actually into the service? I can see how it could lead you into the service in some ways.
Yeah. The service was, I wanted to fly helicopters. So I joined the military when I was 16 years old to fly helicopters.
Wow.
I started doing that on the weekends and stuff. But what led me to the fire department was one day we got a call. And as a funeral director in the county, we picked up all the bodies. So we worked for the coroner as well. So anytime anybody died, if it was a murder, a suicide, it didn't matter, a car accident, it was the funeral home that actually went and picked up the body. Small town in Oregon. And there was a call where a gentleman had a heart attack, crashed his truck, killed him and his wife and his little dog. And I remember we showed up and the fire department was still trying to cut him out. It was the craziest thing. It was at that moment I said, I don't want to be here after the person's dead. I want to be the 911 guy that shows up. And that's all I knew. That was my entire experience really with the fire department. At the time, I didn't know that my mom's dad retired as fire chief in Boise, Idaho. He spent 30 years there. I didn't know my dad was a firefighter, my real biological dad. I didn't know he was a firefighter.
Wow.
And so I just decided at that moment, like, I want to become a fireman. I started doing some research. Denver was building this enormous facility to hide alien bodies called DIA. And there's a whole conspiracy around the DIA airport.
Okay, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing about all this, but
yeah. And so I was like, I'm going to go to Denver.
Authority, but the most strange story so far.
Yeah.
I think I've had boring people on. Sorry, guys, for all the ones who were on before, but this is, I can't wrap my head around it either. This is amazing. Did they actually have a place that they were going to plan to bury aliens?
No, I don't know. There's all kind of conspiracy theories with all the tunnels and the automation under Denver. They built this entire city underneath the Denver airport. There's literally.
You got me on that.
Yeah.
I said, this is incredible. Okay. So it was not for aliens. It was for fighting fires at the airport.
It was they're building an airport and the city was growing. And so they're hiring firefighters. So I moved to Denver. I went home, sold my trailer, I owned real estate. That's when I first started real estate. When I was in junior in high school, I bought my first 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, which also is a 40-foot single wide trailer.
Nice.
But still, I bought a house. I remember once I was in high school and the popular kids were trying to make fun of me. They're like, oh, you live in the trailer park. And I'm like, yeah, and you live with your mom. Big deal. Like, what? I live on my own. So I went to Denver and I went and I needed a job. So I went to work for a funeral home there. And I started doing funeral stuff there and embalming there. And then I got accepted to the fire academy, become a firefighter.
Nice.
And that was fun and scary and enjoying, and just all of it. So that's how I ended up becoming a firefighter. I just decided one day I'm going to be a fireman, and that's what I did.
That's incredible. And you had a pretty long career. It was 15 years, you said?
Yeah, 15 years. 15 years with the National Guard, 18 with the fire department.
Oh, I see. Amazing.
I got out of the National Guard a little bit early. I started having hearing issues, which made me sick flying helicopters. So I didn't want to do anything else but fly. So I got out.
Got it. So, and I do want to say thank you very much for your service, both in in our country's service and also as a firefighter, because, that's That's a very huge service. So thank you very much for that.
Very well.
I also was a fighter once. And when I lived in a teeny little town that didn't have a fire, it had 2 fire trucks and no full-time employees. So it had to be all volunteer.
Yeah.
And I learned how to, wrap a hose around my body because I needed my whole body to keep the hose on.
Yeah.
And I fought one fire, and I was so appreciative of firefighters, even more so. But I thank you very much for that. But I'm curious now to move on. How did you go from that into the field of credit? Because that's where you have all your recognition in. You're a very interesting person. I mean, that's one thing about having a shitty childhood. In a way, it makes you more interesting, right? Because if you have just I would wish for everyone that they would have a boring childhood, safe parents that don't hit them and do stupid things and feed them and stuff. But at least it is kind of interesting, so to speak, to say the least. But how did you go from firefighting into your field of expertise of credit?
It was one day I got off shift fire department, and one of the things that I was taught very early is never call your family the night before or the night that you're working at the fire station. We work 24 hours to 72-hour shifts. Never to call your family when you're at the fire station.
Why? Sorry, hadn't heard that one.
And the reason why you never call your family when you're at the fire station is if you get busy, and I was on a very busy rescue where we'd be gone for 24 hours or longer sometimes. Mm-hmm. It was so your family didn't worry about you because you didn't call them that night.
Oh, I see.
Or if you get in the habit of calling every night and then one night you don't. So you just, when you're there, you turn off your phone, you put it in your locker and you just walk away from it. And so I just got off like a 48-hour shift. I turned on my phone. It's just full of messages from my mom. And up until recently, I really wasn't that close with her. So I was like, what's going on? And she's hysterical. And my little brother, Zeke, also become a fireman. And
is that one that was your younger? You said you had an Irish?
He's one of my youngest brothers. Yeah. He's 26. Okay. And, she's leaving me messages that he got hurt and he had an accident. So I called her and I figured he got hurt at work or whatever. Because being a firefighter is very dangerous. And she said he had an accident. I said, what happened? And she wouldn't tell me. So finally she told me. He shot and killed himself. And 26 years old. And after I found out, after I went to his house to clean everything up, because I'm the oldest, and so I got to deal with all this stuff. So come to find out he had a little bit of debt, not a lot, maybe about what it would cost for an iPhone. So it wasn't like this enormous amount of debt, but his girlfriend broke up with him. He had some collections calling him nonstop, threatening to throw him in jail and all this crazy stuff that collection agencies do that they're not supposed to. And he thought that was his only way out. So he pulled out a gun and killed himself.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry to hear that. That's horrible. That is really horrible.
Yeah. So I went back to the fire station after that. I'm like, why am I doing all this? Like, here I am, firefighter of the year. I get all these awards through the fire department and the National Guard and the military. I was deployed 5 times, and I'm out there risking my life every day for all these other people that I don't know. And yet my brother's suffering, and I didn't even know. And it didn't even dawn on me because I didn't do anything about it. And so I decided at that point that I was going to start something other than the fire department. And so I started a financial education and coaching, really like a therapy, where I would start counseling people on money and credit. And I didn't know anything about money and credit. So I got this book called by Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And then I got his next book. And his next book, I've bought every single book that Robert's written.
That book has probably influenced more people than we can imagine.
Yeah. And so I just started teaching people. And then this thing called 2008 hit that just skyrocketed my business because I owned a real estate company at the same time as a fireman. Firemen always have lots of jobs. I had a construction company and a garbage company, and I owned a real estate company because I was also a real estate investor.
Good for you.
And 2008 hits. Well, I found the #1 real estate attorney in Colorado, because I was a fireman in Littleton, Colorado. I sat down, I took him to lunch, and I told him that what I was doing with credit repair. And I asked him, what can I do to make sure this foreclosure or short sale never shows up on the credit report? So he gave me the verbiage. So I went and I started running ads. List your house with me, and I guarantee the foreclosure will never show up. The short sale will never show up. Buy a house with bad credit. And I literally blew up my business in a good way, my real estate business, through my credit repair. And so I would start doing these seminars, list your house with me, and I would go through all the reasons why you'd want to list, which was the same reason that everybody else. I can put in the MLS, I do pictures.
Yep.
None of that mattered because they're all short sales.
Yep.
But what mattered was I guaranteed the short sale would never show up on their credit report. In fact, the whole thing would be deleted.
Nice.
So I learned really quickly how to fix people's credit through that kind of thing. And then it just grew and grew and grew. And now it's very large. As of this morning, we've helped 509,000 people improve their credit, eliminate their debt, reduce their taxes, and then get into real estate. And what's funny is my first piece of real estate I bought was a mobile home. And now I buy mobile home parks.
Oh my goodness.
And
that's what you focus on?
Mobile home parks and apartment complexes is what I buy my real estate in.
Wow.
And it's some of the best money you can possibly make in real estate. And I do Section 8 as well. And part of the Section 8 that I do is, the government's paying for their rent. We offer free credit repair for them. Nice. So they don't pay a single penny. We fix their credit, and then they decide what they want to do with it. We're not going to force anybody to do what they want to do. So that's full circle now.
That really is full circle. That's pretty cool, to say the least. To think that you started with a mobile home as your first step into real estate and independence, and then going all the way around. I have to say again, I'm so sorry for your brother, the loss of your brother. That's a terrible, terrible thing. And frankly, being in that position can make you a little bit blind and not seeing that it's just freaking money. We're not living in Saudi Arabia where they will behead you or things of that sort. It really isn't that as bad as people feel, but it makes them, if they feel it, it is. And it's a horrible, horrible loss. So I can see why you could, without knowing a lot, step in and say, wait, people, let's see what we can do and slow it down. Because just slowing it down and figuring out how to get into, like somebody who you owe money to would much rather take $10 a week than have you dead and not get anything. There goes their 2,000, So it makes sense that even a lay person can bring some insight for, when you first started not knowing anything. I think it's pretty amazing that you had the foresight to sit down with an attorney. That's good, really good. And then I can see why your business would have blown up and how that would lead you to want to learn more. And, 509,000 people, that's amazing.
Yeah, I know that because this morning we changed our dialer and I was just showing the sales team. Somebody asked me, like, what does that mean, 509,962 or whatever it was? I said, that means that's the 509th per 5,000th person that's come into our CRM.
Wow.
They had no idea we had that many.
That's amazing. Hey, guys, I also want to, in full disclosure, say that I am one of those people. And that's not, I feel great benefit in having Rondi help me. And it's in no way connected to me bringing him here, other than realizing it was so valuable for me that I wanted to, bring him to you. And for me, it's building credit, because after going to Canada for 14 years, I come back and realize What? I'm not credit worthy. And Rondi very nicely explained that I'm the same as a 16-year-old. And I was like, I kind of like the sound of that to some
Yeah.
degree. But, I am very happy to have his organization helping me to build credit. So it can be repairing credit, it can be building credit. There are a number of things that the Rondi's organization does. And I'll use that as a little segue to ask you to outline some of those, because now I have, just so that I don't, I want people to be able to reach out to you. And I know that you are using your name both on IG and YouTube. But the company that you have going is, fortressuniversity.com. That's what I've joined. Can you tell us about all the services that you provide? What do people need help with? What's the worst thing they do?
Is it okay if I switch my camera and I show you?
Absolutely.
And when you do that, if you could replace the Fortress University with Fortress Credit Pro for me.
Sure, absolutely.
Fortress Credit Pro.
I can do that.
Fortress University is our education arm of that. Just because otherwise they might see it. I'm not sure, but here, let me just move this to.
So it's fortresscreditpro.com?
Fortresscreditpro.com. So we really do three things at Fortress. One is we maximize. One is we minimize. One is we multiply. Okay. So we maximize, we minimize, we multiply. What does that mean? Well, I maximize people's purpose. Oh, there's my Sawyer cam.
Hey, that's cool. You've got quite the setup.
You can see I got clothes. You can see his foot right here. It's my 100-pound doodle underneath me.
Nice.
The wrong button. Maximize. So we maximize credit scores, personal credit, business credit. So with you, Effie, you've been gone for 16 years. And so we now need to maximize your personal credit. And at the same time, we're building business credit so you can then maximize your business credit.
Right.
The second thing we do is we minimize debt and taxes. We've helped our clients eliminate over $50 million of credit card debt, collection debt, and student loan debts.
Oh, that's cool.
So part of that is we have a bankruptcy alternative where we can eliminate the debt completely without filing bankruptcy. And then there's people that have real estate. They're not missing their bills. They don't need to do any settlements or anything like that. We have that. We can help you settle the debt if you're behind. But we have a software that can take a 30-year mortgage and convert it to a 10-year mortgage without refinancing, without changing your payment.
Nice.
Now think about that. We just took 20 years off your mortgage and you're making the same payment. How is that possible? Well, you got to get into our software and figure out how we do it. But it literally takes 20 years off of it. So that's how we minimize debt. And then we minimize taxes. Wally, the guy that hired me, the multimillionaire, told me it's not how much money you make that makes the difference. It's how much money you keep. And so we teach our clients how to keep all of their money or the majority of it. So if you make less than $100,000 per year, which the average American makes less than $100,000, you pay zero income tax through our system. Okay. 100,000 or less, you pay zero. If you make more than $100,000, you're going to be in this 5% tax bracket to 10%. I should be in a 60% tax bracket. I'm in a 2% tax bracket.
Nice.
So everything I teach and our company teaches, we actually do. We're not social media influencers that rent cars and pretend that they're theirs. Or it's even, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's actually in Vegas, where we have an office in Vegas, at one of the casinos, they have a fake jet. Like you can go and have a selfie sitting in the jet.
All right.
I have my own plane and it's not one of those. So if you see pictures of me in a plane, it's in mine or someone else's.
That's
then 3, we multiply income and assets. So we teach people how to make more money at their current job. We teach people how to start home-based businesses. And then we teach people how to increase their assets or retirement accounts. And part of that, thank you for putting that up there. Part of it is I started investing in apartment complexes. Now, you probably know this, Effie, but a lot of people don't. Unless you are a millionaire, otherwise known as an accredited investor, which you make 300 grand a year and you have $1 million in assets outside of your home. Most millionaires in America are not millionaires if you take away their home.
Mm-hmm.
Very few are actually millionaires.
Right.
So you have to be an accredited investor to invest in apartment complexes like what we do. And we pay our clients get paid 20% returns every year on our apartment complexes and our trailer homes.
Wow. Nice.
But you have to be a millionaire to get in.
Oh.
My clients are not millionaires. Some of them are, but not all of them. So that's why I created another company where we take all of our clients' money, their $5,000 from this old 401k, $3,000 over here. We package it, and then we go in together in our LLC that everybody has voting rights on, and we then invest in the LLC that invests into the apartment complex. Now, yes, it's my apartment complex, but I let everybody in.
Yeah, but it's a little bit like a syndication or a fund.
It is syndication, but you have to be a millionaire to get into the syndication.
Mm-hmm.
But you can let, like in most of our apartments, we can let 20 or less non-millionaires in.
Yeah.
So what I do is I'll put all of my clients in an LLC that counts as one of my 20.
Got it. So it's a CF.
No, we're a Reg B.
Oh, Reg B. Okay, that's interesting. We're starting to learn about some of this, and it is interesting. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's what we do. We maximize credit, minimize debt and taxes, multiply income and assets. That's what we do.
Wow. I absolutely love that you have Section 8 folks and that you are helping them. And I mean, it's nice that you have a steady paycheck from them, absolutely. But to help them lift up, that's awesome. And it's actually one of the things that drew me to you is the fact that although, you charge for your fees and it's a very valuable service, there's a lot of heart involved. You're looking, there's a lot of help. You can see, it doesn't surprise me to see the firefighting and, the difficult background.
Yeah.
And that, that goes a long way. People appreciate it and they empathize with it. So I have signed up for this and I am just starting to get going. And I know it'll be well worth I'll get much more than what I paid to get in just because you help people build credit for their companies. And that I think is something that would be of interest to our viewers because a lot of them are in real estate and they're relatively new. So, how does, talk about how people can build credit for their company as well as themselves. Let's start from the very basics on that, just a little bit.
Sure. In order for you to build credit under a business name, it has to be a real business. And what I mean by that is it can't be a sole proprietor. And the majority of small businesses in America are sole proprietorships. What that means is like they got a little side hustle over here, but they haven't incorporated it yet, whether it's an LLC, an S Corp, or a C Corp. Mm-hmm. So in order to build business credit, it has to be some type of corporation or an LLC taxed as a corporation. And then you get what's called an EIN number, Employer Identification Number. You can get this for free at irs.gov. Once you get your EIN number, that is going to serve as your social security number for your business. Same amount of numbers. That number is what you use going forward on a bank application, a credit card application, a loan application. Instead of putting in your social security number, you put in your EIN number. Now, unlike personal credit, banks don't just report to the business credit bureaus. In fact, the majority of banks don't report anything to the business bureaus except for negative information. And the reason for that is there is no Fair Credit Reporting Act that regulates businesses or credit bureaus. And so they're not forced to do anything.
Okay.
If I wanted to, right now, I could share my screen. I could go to Experian.com. I could pay $40. I could pull Google's credit. I could pull Walmart's credit, Apple's credit, HP's credit. I could pull any business in America's credit for $40. I could see how much money they owe. I can see who they owe it, how many credit cards they have, how many mortgages they have, how many car loans, all of it. There is no protection.
Got it.
Personal credit, I can't pull your credit unless you give me permission. And if I do pull without permission, I can go to jail. Business credit, there is none of that going on. So this is one of the reasons that banks don't report your business credit card, your business loan. It's because their competitor, so if you bank with Bank of America and you got a $100,000 line of credit, and I work at US Bank and I want to try to steal you away from Bank of America, I would simply pull your business credit, see all of your loans, call you up and say, hey, Effie, I see you with Bank of America with a $100,000 loan at 10% interest. Come over to US Bank. I'll match it and do it for 5% interest.
Wow.
And so this is part of the reason that banks just don't report any of it, which is why it's so difficult to build it, is because you need to know where to go so they will report it. So the question was, how do you build it? Well, you got to incorporate. You got to be an S Corp or a C Corp or an LLC taxed as an S or C Corp.
So you have to have an entity.
You have to have an entity, a real entity.
Yep.
Okay. Then you get your EIN number, you build your bank account, you get a bank account, you get a website, you get a phone number, you get an email address. Then you start going to places that will issue you credit without even looking into your business. And there are hundreds of companies out there that will loan you money or give you products on terms. They're called net 30 accounts. So Granger is one of them. You can go to Granger.com. You can buy $1,000 worth of office supplies. They'll send them to you, and then they give you 30 days to pay them back. Now, if you don't pay them back, the consequences are way worse than anything that happens on your personal credit.
What do they do?
You can go to jail.
Oh.
Yeah, it's you pay. The other thing is, if you don't pay them, one, they're going to sue you. Two, they'll get you in contempt of court and you'll go to jail.
Interesting.
But also, if you don't pay your business credit loans, you'll never get business credit ever. There is no grace period. If your payment's due on the 16th of October and you pay on the 17th, you're done. For the next 3 years, you'll have bad business credit. Nothing you can do about it, but just wait.
Wow.
Credit.
You're
You
super
get a grace
strict.
period, right? So that's what you have to do. And what we do at Fortress is we teach you all of that. But then we also have our accounts, our portal is synced to over 500 different banks and vendors. And we teach you in order of importance of who you need to apply with, what you need to buy, when you need to pay it. And then you move on to tier 2 and tier 3 and tier 4 and just so on and so forth until you have a couple $100,000 worth of business credit. And then you can go buy houses. Like Corey Peterson and I, through the apartments, Effie, we have over $250 million in business credit.
Wow.
With no personal guarantee. So $250 million. And if I decide to default and never pay these banks, I have no personal guarantee. They'll literally just take the apartments from us. Won't report it, won't sue me. Now you got to build up to that. It doesn't happen that quickly.
Right.
But that's the advantages of business credit. The other advantage of business credit is they don't report. So the disadvantage is they don't report. But just like life, when you go through life and you go through a hard childship or childhood, or you go through divorce, or you're born with an issue or something. When life is hard, you can look at just the negative or you can look at both. So with business credit, the number one problem with business credit is the banks don't report. The best thing about business credit is the banks don't report. And so we literally have banks that we can go to. You open a bank account with them, you put money in the bank account, 90 days later, they give you a $100,000 line of credit and they don't report it to anyone. So now you can go to
wait a minute.
Yeah.
I see it. Tell it like it is. Tell it.
So the number one problem is they don't report. The number one benefit of business credit is they don't report. So none of the other banks know that you got a $100,000 line of credit from the bank across the street. And now the next thing you're doing is you are stacking up these $100,000 loans and $200,000 loans and $50,000 and $25,000. So we call it loan stacking. And because they don't report, Bank of America doesn't know you got $1 million of loans with other banks. So you make the disadvantage your advantage.
I love it. I love it. So, Jeremiah says, jail for $1,000 for office supplies, but nothing for $250 million of real estate. I'm confused.
That's because it comes with $400 million of assets.
Right, exactly. So, they're just going to step in and they're going to take
they're just going to take your stuff.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
As you build business credit, in the beginning, you got to personally guarantee everything. But as you start building it, like if Jeff Bezos wanted to go buy a new jet, or Elon Musk, he's the one really with the jet that Elon wanted to go buy a new jet, Elon's not signing a personal guarantee.
Right.
His business is doing it. And the business has enough assets and income that Elon doesn't need to personally guarantee the $300 million jet or whatever it ends up being. That'd be an expensive jet. That's kind of an exaggeration, $300 million. I saw a boat the other day that was $500 million.
Okay.
A ship. So I don't think
for that you should call it a liner, a cruise liner.
Yeah, for sure.
So Matthew has a question. He says, are you teaching people how to build the personal and biz credit as part of the program? Or is it a service that is done for us?
Both. Yeah. We find that some people want both. Some people want one. Some people do whatever. So not only on the personal credit and the business credit, it's both. So on the personal credit, while we're teaching you how to build it, we're also removing accounts that could be holding down your personal credit score. Another thing we do, like I have access to over 5,000 credit cards. So 5,000 credit cards. So one of the things that we're going to do for you, Effie, is you don't have any credit history.
Right. But
go ahead.
Because it's on the internet, but I finally got my first credit card for $20,000.
Yeah. See, but what we're going to do for you is I'm actually going to add you to my other clients' credit reports that have $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 available credit with 10, 20 years of history.
Wow.
So if I added you today, you would have that credit card tomorrow on your credit report. And it would look like you've had this credit card open for the last 20 years.
Wow.
And so that's another service that we have built into Fortress.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you pay for it, sometimes you don't. But we add that. And then to make things better for our clients that have those kind of credit cards, we actually pay them anywhere from $100 per credit card to $1,000 per credit card per person that we add to their credit card. So now you can make $3,000 a month off of your credit.
That's interesting. Okay, so Pesa told us a story about his mom when he was little, and she wanted to start a business. She didn't have any money, so she went to the church, and she borrowed somebody's credit.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds to me like this is pretty similar, except that person that she borrowed the credit from didn't necessarily charge her. But from what you're saying, two parties can benefit: the person who's borrowing the credit and the person who's lending the credit.
Yes.
Hey guys, that might be the only real passive way of making money. Yeah. build your credit, and then, let them pay you to use it. But what happens if they mess up?
So the person that, for example, if I'm going to add you to my credit cards because
Right.
you need the history.
Right.
So I'm simply going to make a phone call, or I'm going to go online. So I go to CapitalOne.com. I put manage cards, authorized user. I type in your name, your address, your social, your date of birth.
Yep.
And I do not check the box that says send Effie a card. I don't check the send card button. Then I hit save. Tomorrow, when someone else pulled your credit, you would see a $50,000 credit card on there with over 10 years of history and less than 5% being used.
Wow.
Your credit score would also skyrocket.
So it truly is not only, it improves your credit and also secures any misuse of even accidental to the person.
They don't get the card at all. They don't have access. They don't know who you are.
That's what I want to be. I want to be one of those kind of lenders.
You'll be there.
I think that would be cool. Yeah, Brenda, me too. I already paid for it, but you know what? As soon as I paid for it, I had to get ready to go to Pace's Mastermind, and I haven't done a thing yet. But I'm going to. I'm going to do it. So So Yada says, "I am in."
Everybody loves that.
Yeah. That's an incredible thing. For sure.
I call it the bacon. It's called the Bacon Project. So if you guys want information on it, you can go. You can follow me on social media.
I'm going to use my affiliate.
You will.
Yes.
The nice thing is we keep track of everything.
Yeah.
We actually, it gets better than we just pay you. But I call it the Bacon Project. And the reason I call it the Bacon Project is a lot of people don't realize this. Like I said, I didn't have a very good relationship with my mom because I blame my mom for a lot of the stuff that we had to deal with as a kid, because I was like, why didn't she just leave? Like, why did we have to stay in these horrible situations? And she always picked him over us.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize it until recently. Up until 1977 here in America, do you know women could not sign a contract by themselves without a cosigner? They couldn't sign a contract.
I do know that because we got beaten for doing that when my dad was out of town and we bought a house.
Can't get a checking account.
Yeah.
And so my mom by 1977 had 3 boys. By 1980 she had 4 boys, and then she kept having more kids and more kids. And when I realized that, I'm like, well, no wonder she never left. Like, she couldn't go get a car. She couldn't go get a house except for Section 8 housing. But then there's several years of waiting list. And so it started making me think, like, what can I do to help people? And I think it was you. As a matter of fact, it was you. A few weeks ago, you asked me, how do I make money off my credit? And I'm like, you buy real estate and you do this. And you're like, I don't want to do that. I want to know passively. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Do you remember asking me this question?
I do. Yeah.
So I started thinking about, like, how can you actually make money? And then it dawned on me. I'm like, I can just be the middleman. I can introduce my clients to people who need credit. I'll be the guy in the middle. They don't really talk. They never talk to each other. They don't talk to each other at all. And that's just for security reasons. And I call it the Bacon Project because my girlfriend's mom is 67 years old. She worked since she was a teenager. And her last job that she had was for Pebble Beach. You ever heard of Pebble Beach, the golf course?
That's where I'm going to live.
Okay. She lives in Monterey
Peninsula. Yep.
That's where Susan lives, is in Monterey. She worked for Pebble Beach for 19 years. In 19 years, as union. So at 66 years old, she's making over $60 an hour. New owners came in and they're like, we need to figure out how to get rid of all of these seasoned employees and replace them with $15 an hour teenagers. So they set cameras up everywhere looking for their employees to make a mistake. 19 years she worked here. 1 year away from full retirement and lifetime benefits, healthcare and stuff. So one day she goes into the kitchen at the restaurant And in the trash can where they scrape off the plates, because there's a restaurant there and they scrape the plates off and there's food in there. She reached in and took 2 pieces of bacon out of the garbage can, put it in a napkin, and took it home for her dogs. They pulled her in the next day and they fired her over stealing. She took it out of the garbage can and they still fired her. Why'd they fire her? Because they replaced her with 4 $15 an hour employees.
There's a special place in hell for them.
Yes. So we call it the Bacon Project because it's my way. You said that to me and I'm thinking about Susan because she's 67 now. I'm like, how can she's working at Macy's for minimum wage at Macy's on her feet all day long, getting abused by people in retail. She shouldn't be there. She should be retired now. And so I come up with the Bacon Project. And the way it works is for every credit card that you add, you're going to make $100. Well, our standard program's $100. So it's got to be a credit card at least 2 years old. It's got to have at least a $2,000 credit limit. For that credit card, I'm going to pay you $100. Okay. Now, Effie, you introduce me to Julie Burkhart, who's on here right now.
Mm-hmm.
Julie signs up for the Bacon Project. And this is not MLM. I'm not saying you're going to get rich tomorrow. It's not that. But Effie signs up as an affiliate and we use your credit. Eventually, you'll be able to do this. And then you introduce Julie and we use Julie's credit. For every person Julie adds, she's going to get $100. You're going to get $75.
Do you hear that, Julie? We're in business together, girl.
Right. And then Julie introduces me to Brenda Polar.
There you go. All
Brenda's
right.
going to get $100. Julie's going to get $75. Effie's going to get $25.
Wow.
And then it stops at that level. And then it goes up from there based on how many cards you enroll. And as you can see, it gets fairly complicated. And I actually have an entire software that we're already using this on our affiliate program for Fortress because we pay all our affiliates anywhere from $100 to $500 per person you refer to me. So we're just building it all out right now. But essentially, if you have 3 credit cards, we're going to pay you $100 per person. And you can add 3 people a month. So that's $900 now.
Wow.
That you're going to make total. Plus, you'll make $900 off of someone who does the same thing. And then you make a couple $100 off of someone else. And then I'm not going to say it's a downline because it's not a downline. It's just a network of people that you introduce to us. So it's just a network of your friends. Yeah. And we're not advertising. I'm telling a couple people, I already have 5,000 credit cards, so I don't really need to tell anybody else. It's grown very, very quickly.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. And you know what? Maybe it's a good thing that I did go to Pace's Mastermind and not get a chance to get into everything at this point because I may have felt a little guilty about introducing it. But you know, the thing is, we really do need to know how to build our business credit and our personal credit. And if I can help someone and still be safe, I would, be very happy to. There's no doubt about that. I think I agree, Millie. This is about as passive as it could get. So yeah. And
there's a little bit of work. And here's what it is. You have to log into your website, your bank's website, and you have to add the person's information and hit save.
Oh my God. I have to do that much?
You have to do that. And then 3 months later, you got to log back in and hit remove. Because we don't leave them on there forever. It's for 3 months.
Oh, okay. Why the 3 month?
Because I want to continue to add more people so I can keep paying you that $100 a month.
I see. Very interesting. Yeah. Hey, Millie, I don't have 8 cards, girl. It's been impossible for me. I finally got 3, and now that 4th one has some money on it, so to speak, but it's been terrible, especially at my age, to be told that you're not worthy of credit, especially when I have money. It's not fair. So yeah, if you have 8, Millie, that's great. That's great. Well, this is very interesting. You had touched on that and I had listened, but, and I had talked about, wanting to learn a little bit. But for me, the biggest thing was to build the credit. That was the thing that was really important. So I didn't pay as much attention as I am right now,
You know, with Millie, for Millie right there would make $2,400 a month off of those. At the low end, 2,400. She might make 4,000 or 5,000 a month, depending on the credit limits and the age.
Wow.
And then if she introduces someone, she's making a little bit of money. Again, guys, this is not you're going to get rich and retire tomorrow. It's not like that. It's you're going to make $300 to $500, maybe $1,000 a month. Because if you're using some of these cards, you can't enroll them in the program. These have to be cards that you're not using at all. Because we have to control, as in I say control in quotes, we have to control how much money's showing on that card due. Because if you add my client to the credit card that's maxed out, their score is going to go down.
Right. And we don't want that.
No. So these are cards that you're not using. We have a whole system where you use a little tiny bit every month so they never get closed. And then after a while, most banks, after about 50 people that you've added, they will then, if you continue to do it, they'll close that account. So then we stop around 40 people, 45, and then you just bring up the new credit card, and then we start paying you on the new credit card.
Great. That's great. Wow. I kind of regret having said it was going to be an hour, but I am very respectful of your time.
Yeah.
I would like to ask one last question, and let me just see here. I usually ask something of this sort. If you could go back to meet your younger self, let's say at that 18, and particularly that moment that you were walking into that that poor gentleman that has his face shot off, what would you say to yourself? What advice would you give to yourself?
Go faster.
Really?
Yeah. You know, my mom recently died, and I've been around a lot of death, you know, the fire department, the military, all of that. And so I think about it a lot. And I know my good friend Ed Milet talks about this a lot on his podcast. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately. It's like, what are my regrets? And the only regret that I really have, and there's a couple, but my biggest regret that I have is I neutered my golden doodle. I had him, and that's, I know that seems funny, but it's a regret because when you neuter your dogs, your male dogs, it cuts their lifespan by 50%.
Oh, wow.
It increases the likelihood of getting cancer by 80%.
Oh.
And so when you go out and you neuter your dog, your male dogs, you're like literally cutting their life in half. And he's my best friend. I mean, he's laying right here on my feet right now.
Yeah.
So I would tell myself, never neuter your dogs. That would be one of them.
Yeah.
And the other thing is just go faster. Go faster. Don't wait so long to do stuff. Other than that, like all my mistakes that I made, I was thinking about this yesterday. I was like, which mistakes would I reverse? And I don't think there's one. Like 2 years ago, I did my PTSD therapy. And then afterwards, because it was a bunch of military people there, some Navy SEALs and stuff. And they're like, let's go skydiving. I'm like, why not? I just figured out how to deal with my PTSD. Why not? Let's go do something dangerous like skydiving. And I did. And guess what happened? I fell 300 feet. I landed. I ripped my right foot off my leg and I shattered my right leg. And then I spent the next 6 months laying in a bed. And I'm still not 100%. And I was thinking about this yesterday because my leg was hurting a little bit yesterday. And I was like, would I change that? I don't think I would have. Like, I know I wouldn't have said no. Would I have done something maybe different? Maybe. But so I don't have a lot of regrets. So that one's really difficult for me, other than just saying, go faster.
Got it.
That you don't have all the time in the world. Stop being so patient, thinking it's going to be there tomorrow, because it's probably not.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. All right. Well, guys, I would like very much, if you don't mind, I'd like you to go ahead and give your thanks, say some thanks to our guest. Wait a minute. What am I doing here? Hold on. Just when I think I've got it, I don't.
I know.
It's
It's all
kind of
good.
funny. All right. So I'm trying to turn off the comments. Okay, there we go. So guys, if you got some value out of this, maybe take a screenshot and go ahead and post it and encourage with this email and write in your own Facebooks, what gems you got. And yeah, I know a lot of people that couldn't make it are going to be watching the replay for sure. But I think that would be helpful to spread the word. There are multiple reasons. Hi, Lori. You're late. Anyhow, or you were quiet. Anyhow, the point is that there are many gems that were dropped today. And I'm grateful, really, really grateful to Rondi for coming because, just a little guy here. And if we can, help spread some of the word to other people who can benefit, let's do it. Let's do it. All right. So now I'm going to play my outro and hold on. And if you would be kind enough, Rondi, to just hang tight, I do like to just have a short brief debrief. And to the rest of you, I'm going to say goodbye and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, everybody.